Mr. Ford. Mr. Rayburn will be the first candidate to answer the next question. How do you build complete and unquestionable transparency, honesty, and trust at the central office level?
Well, as I said in an earlier forum, this really is Leadership 101. I'll take them in slightly different order. With regard to honesty, that one's fairly simple. I took an oath 30-something years ago that I would not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate among my group those who did. And so honesty is my watchword, and there will be no compromise with regard to my honesty or personal integrity, and people will just see that. Trust is something that you earn, but it goes both ways. In a lot of organizations, particularly in government, leadership moves through fairly quickly. By rule, I was only going to lead an organization at the most 2 years, so oftentimes the average was something quite less than that, a year, year and a half. You didn't have a whole lot of time to just sit there and figure out who you could trust, who you didn't. And so in those situations, just as in D49, when I come into a new organization, I make the statement clear and I live it, that I will trust implicitly everyone in that organization, from the top to the bottom. And only if they show me that I can't trust them will I put them in a position where that I have to wonder about their veracity. And transparency comes particularly from communication. Parents have to know what's going on. The staff needs to, the teaching staff needs to, and the administration. And the only way you can do that is walk the walk and talk the talk, and be out there listening to people, talking to them, answering their questions, and making sure that you get the answers back to them. And that's how you build and then demonstrate transparency.
Thank you, Mr. Rayburn. Ms. Howell.
I'm going to answer the question in reverse order, because I think the basic foundation for any team that you build, and when you're looking at the central office from a superintendent's perspective, you're looking to develop an effective team. And it has to be based upon an environment of trust, and you have to establish that with your staff. Expectation for honest, open dialogue, encouragement of disagreeing and giving perspective so the best decisions can be made, consistency in your behavior, information so people understand decisions. It's critical that you establish trust and honesty and candor and the ability to disagree among team members in order to make the best decisions and ultimately for what's in the best interest of students. And the transparency comes from communication and understanding any of the decisions that are made, and listening and getting input from the entire central office staff.
Thank you, Ms. Howell. Mr. Ford.
You know, when you take a position like a superintendent job, right away, one of the first things that will happen, I mean, it's actually happening right now. You're already starting to make judgments about all of us in terms of who we are and what our integrity is and how we answer some of these questions. That will get intensified, actually. You know, once you've made your selection, one of us gets to be your superintendent. And you know, when you look at me, if I'm that person and I come on board, you know, I think those first months of a person coming into office sets the whole tone of how things will actually operate in that district. Because you're going to make so many judgment calls about how things are actually going on, how they're being handled, and what type of communication efforts are coming forward from a person like me. Now, one of the things that I think you can do, probably with all of us, is that you can go backtrack on all of us, and you can find, you all know people. You know people in Tulsa, you know people in Steamboat, you know people in this community that know General Rayburn, you know that I'm from this community. You can go check on, is this guy for real? Because that's what you seek. You seek somebody that can actually back up the words that we're all delivering here and do it on a consistent, day-to-day basis. And is in it for the long haul. And so, you know, when those things come in place, trust starts to build. The other thing that will be a part of who I am is that when I get the chance to actually interview with our 5 board members, that, and share with them my entry plan, which I've had an entry plan for every job I've ever had. As soon as that entry plan is looked at by the board and accepted, you will have it as well. Because it will create an accountability for me, as your superintendent, to say, this guy's following through, he's doing what he said he's going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Mr. Sheppy?
I kind of take the same route, to take that in a backward way also. I think it's, you build honesty by being honest. That's the only way you can build honesty, is by telling the truth and not hiding things from people. And I think part of that leads then into building trust. And I think you build trust, once again, I take the same philosophy as Mr. Rayburn does. You give people trust until they take it away. And I think that's real important, that, until I've given you some responsibility, or we're working together and you break my trust, then I am going to trust you. I'm a pretty trusting person. And sometimes that comes back and bites you. And then you deal with that situation once that happens. Transparency to me, especially at the district level, is once again, it's being honest and not hiding things from people. I mean, what are we doing that we would want to hide from people? We have a responsibility to taxpayers. We have a responsibility to parents, to students, to teachers in this district, to spend money the way it should be spent, to deal with people honestly. And so, the transparency is just being honest. And when people want answers, providing them those answers, not trying to hide, that we're doing something we shouldn't be doing, because if we are, we shouldn't be doing it. And so there really shouldn't be anything that we need to hide from people, and we ought to be able to build that trust by being honest with people.
Thank you very much.